if nobody's drunk and nobody's hurt, is not, you need to sort it out yourselves. So around 2014, 2015, my mom had just gotten a new car. We ended up getting the first Macan Turbo, certainly in town, definitely, I don't know, in whatever radius. And of course, I'm excited because at the time, I daily drove a Lexus IS250. I still have my Corvette, but I mean, I'm still a car guy, and now my mom's got the fastest car in the family. So I'm kind of always looking for an excuse like, Mom, does your car need gas? Hey, do you want me to wash it for you? You know, like all these different excuses. This is around the time and I'm just peak autocross. And I just kind of say, Mom, do you think I could take the Macan autocrossing? Just, you know, I know it's weird, but it's not dangerous. You know, I go every weekend. I think it'd be really fun to drive something differently. She hemmed and hawed over it for a couple of weeks. And I mean, she'd ask my dad, is it really a safe kind of thing? And to which me and my dad would both reply, yes, it's cones. It's in an open area. People spin out all the time even. I was like, Mom, you couldn't hit something if you tried. Famous last words. So she eventually is like, you know what? Yes, have a great time. I was stoked. And I knew that everybody else there was going to want to see the car because it was a brand new car, a brand new model of car that a lot of people, even car enthusiasts, weren't really hip to. So this was like, what is this even? Part of the autocross experience is you work as much as you drive, in fact, a lot more, but you get up there and there's a lot of time between actual running. So there's setup, there's tech inspection, there's that. I usually help with tech inspection, and then there's walking the course. And so we're doing it, you know, it's going through the motions. And before even putting the car in the paddock in the lineup, I had so many people go, please let me ride with you. Like, I got to ride in that thing. Like, once they understood the specs and they're like, that's nuts. Like, in this little squat thing, I got to ride in it. That's awesome. And I was like, absolutely. But first run, I'm just going to take my uncle. Like, you know, and I'd already been thinking about all the different ways of like, well, do I want to toss the suspension in this way? What ride height do I want? You know, what settings do I want? When I was on my course walk, I am just definitely overthinking it, but excited beyond belief. We get to the lineup. I think we're 3 or 4 cars out. And it was to the point where, all right, let's put helmets on, you know, start GoPros and stuff. And I didn't. I was like, I don't want to mess with that the first run. But I had just put on my helmet. Car was running, warming up. And I was sitting, messing with the settings. Porsches, they have a bazillion buttons going down the sides. Obviously not all necessary, but I was making sure everything was the way I wanted and looking down. And I hear tire screeching. Absolutely not uncommon for an autocross. And my uncle's watching because he's in the passenger seat. And he goes, oh, crap. And he goes, oh, crap. And then he goes, oh. And then that's when I look up. And because I can hear the tire screeching too. And I'm like, tick, tick, tick. And I just look up and I see a black C5 Z06 sideways coming at me unavoidably at 40 miles an hour.
Oh my God. That's the first time that's ever happened here.
Plows right into the back right tire of the Macan and then hurdles itself at like 5 different cars that are in the grid next to me. My head, because the window's down, just goes, and then I've got the weight of the helmet too, which didn't help. But overall, it was like, what just happened? The car is freaking out because it wasn't an impact zone. So we got hit at 40 miles an hour, but no airbags went off. Lights are on. The car's in park, but the reverse camera's on, and like everything's blinking. And I'm still just being like, what the heck just happened? And then it all flooded to me at once. I was like, oh no. This is the only time that I've ever even seen videos of, other than people hitting curbs, of an accident happening at an autocross. And now it's me in the car that I just begged my mom to let me have. And worth mentioning, without a doubt, the most expensive car on the grid by a large margin. Because if you've ever been to an autocross event, which is the greatness of it, it's a lot of sub $10,000 grassroots vehicles. And that's great. I was in a $100,000 very not grassroots vehicles, and I had just been in the brunt force of a multi-car accident. We get out, and I mean, first of all, everybody else is going, the universal, well, hey man, and then so my Macan had gotten pushed into the Civic beside me, which had then gotten pushed into whatever else. And of course, the Corvette had gone on to hit the rear side of all of those cars. So it was like, dude, what were you doing? And unfortunately for this guy, he had also kind of already had a reputation for not letting out of it when he should have, plowing through cones when he could have. He was already lost it. Just let it go, buddy. And now he's just had a multi-car accident. And it was definitely a, dude, what were you doing? And he was like, oh, I thought I could save it. And I just remember being like, I remember hearing the acceleration. I heard you let off and then get back on it. And what happened was you slingshotted yourself into all of this. So now what? All right. Everybody was okay, first and foremost. His passenger had like a scraped knee. Some airbags went off. Like I said, ours didn't. And I started surveying the damage. I'm like, all right, I had the adrenaline from the thing that happened. What happened? What's the damage look like? Honestly, on the outside, not too bad. Because he hit the wheel of the car, smack dab. These RS Spider 20-inch optional Porsche wheels so hard that it left the design on the front of the Z06. And so, at first, you're like, not that bad. You could see it was pushed in and cocked. Can't drive the car home. But I thought the bumper would be destroyed, and it was obviously bad in the spot that it hit the Civic, and I was like, okay, now what? I mean, call the cops? Like, what's an accident look like here? So we do, and we're like, there's been an accident. How many cars? It's like 5. Has anybody hurt? Not really. Has anybody been drinking? And we're like, well, no. And they're like, well, not our deal, because that's the policy. If nobody's drunk and nobody's hurt, you need to sort it out yourselves. So now we are at an abandoned airfield, essentially in an Amish town, very far away from other things, and the police do not want to come and take a report about anything. So now everybody has gathered and is like, we need to get our story straight. The guy saying that was the guy driving the Corvette. So really it was all like, you need to get your story straight. And you need to figure out how what's going to happen with this. And it turns out his insurance, which most people's insurance, does not cover accidents at track events. So he was making very sure that he was like, hey, we were at a car show and I was showing off. And of course, three other people are like, no, you weren't. We were right here. And I'm like, listen, buddy, you were at a car show and you were showing off, as long as it takes care of this, because this is not good, So then I had to call my dad, call my mom. Hey, remember that safe event that, I begged you to let me take the Porsche to? I was like, first of all, didn't get to go, didn't run the car, got hit. Everybody's okay. I don't know what to do now. They're like, well, take it home. I'm like, can't. So now we had to call Flatbed to come out to get my car, this Corvette. I think the others were drivable home because it was like body damage on, Civics and, like, believe it or not, a Chevy S10. We got out there, the flatbed driver, after so much instruction, because it's just not easy to find, got out there, tilted it back, hooked the car, and said something along the lines of, well, you're going to need to drive it up there. And I was like, buddy, thing's not going anywhere. And he's like, I don't remember exactly. It was either my winch can't pull this or something. He's like, you need to make it go up the ramp. And I'm like, boy, do I not want to. But I got in it, and I believe I hadn't tried to drive it, but I just saw how jacked the rear axle was, and I was like, this is a bad idea. And believe it or not, bless that Macan's soul, it pulled itself up whatever insane grade a flatbed truck ramp is with what I can only imagine, non-functioning rear axle. Pulled itself up. That poor dual clutch was screaming, and I'm sure, but it got up there, he got it latched in, and I got out, and, away it went. All right, now what? My mom's now without a car. So it went like this. My dad let my mom borrow his car. I let my dad borrow my car. And then I just was daily driving my C4 Corvette, which the air conditioning didn't work on at the time, dead of summer. This whole event led me to the most first world statement that has still ever come out of my mouth, is somebody saying, hey, I noticed you've been driving your Corvette a lot. What's up with that? And I just remember, without over explaining, and I just blurted out, well, I wrecked my mom's Porsche, so my dad's driving my Lexus, so I have to drive this Corvette. But the interesting part was, because the car was so new, the repair shops, you could not get parts for them. They couldn't get the car, let alone repair parts. Nobody had been receiving the cars yet, let alone had this done. So the repair was going on. Couldn't get the parts. Sent new parts over from Germany. Couldn't get them aligned to Porsche spec. It was going on and on and on. Unfortunately, it just got to the point where my dad got frustrated. He was like, look, it's not going to happen. You guys are essentially telling me you can't fix it and that no one can fix it and you don't know when it will be even possible. So the next shipment, they got another turbo in, luckily the same color. My dad just said he traded in the wrecked one, took a massive beating on it, but he was sick of it and he just wanted my mom to have her car back. So ultimately, I cost my dad a ton of money by taking my mom's car out to what's supposed to be the safest form of racing in existence.